In episode number 344 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover our first look at the live-action Swamp Thing.
We also have some information on the DCEU's Darkseid casting.
Our comic book review is a compilation of interviews, artwork, and all kinds of comic book pieces from the Masters of Comics. That's the softcover from Insight Editions.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comic books, movies, TV, video games, and more. I am Fisherman Daniel this week.
And I am Emperor Kelli every week.
For those of you new to the podcast, the way we format the show is first we go through some news. We head on into the Patreon shoutouts, which is our thank yous to everyone that makes the show possible. We go into some kind of review. This week it is a look at Inside Editions, and then we'll actually finish it off with the Bro Kept block, which has been moved to the end of the episode, which is where Kelli and I have been this week.
Just saving the best for last, guys.
Absolutely.
But first up with our news, readers who haven't been able to find DC's Walmart exclusive comics, you guys can rest easy. DC will make these original stories available to comic book shops this summer in the form of miniseries.
These are going to start up with Superman Up in the Sky #1, which releases on July 3rd, Batman Universe #1, which is on July 10th, and Wonder Woman Come Back to Me, which is on July 17th. So kicking it off with the Trinity, I hear the Word Balloon podcast every single week, and on there, a lot of people from DC Comics, a lot of writers, have strongly hinted at the fact, like Tom King and Brian Michael Bendis, that these are going to be later on collected in some form. I thought they were going to be in trade format. But now it makes sense that DC Comics is actually moving away from trades and hardcovers in that they're more selectively collecting these things. Even then, I thought these would make the cut as like the Walmart collection or whatever you want to call them. But instead, they're going to be releasing as individual issues, which is what the direct market is more used to.
I think that that's a smart way to go, and I'm also very appreciative that they're not just staying in Walmart, because I don't step foot in no Walmarts.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, we do have a nice Walmart, but it's still Walmart.
No, speaking of which, I was talking to one of my friends at work, right? We were talking about Target, because that's where I do my shopping is Target. And he was saying he only has a Walmart by where he lives. And I said, well, that's real shitty. He goes, no, you don't understand. I have to dress up to go to my Walmart because it's in such a nice part of town that the workers are wearing designer clothes like Gucci. So he feels underdressed if he's not like dressed perfectly.
I would never imagine that. I'd have to actually go into that Walmart to believe it.
I feel, granted, it's like an hour away, right? But I feel like it's worth the trip just to see this fancy-ass Walmart.
I bet you at that fancy-ass Walmart, these Walmart books are not only in stock, but already bagged and boarded. Like, they don't even let you flip through them. Like, they're behind a counter somewhere, behind a glass case.
Sir.
These are exclusive to our establishment.
If you touched it, you're buying it.
Bags and boards are $1 extra. They're all Mylar. Ultra Mylar. It's like, I guess I'll take one then.
Nobody at fancy Walmart's buying these books. What are you talking about?
They actually get variants of these that aren't available at any Walmart.
They don't even exist, but they have them somehow.
The Gucci variant Walmarts. Like all the superheroes are wearing Gucci merchandise. It's kind of worth it.
Fantastic.
I would buy those.
We need to go to this Walmart tomorrow.
I do hear that these Walmart stories are actually pretty good, even though they are sort of outside of continuity. They're not really setting up events or anything crazy like that, but these are just strong, well-written stories, kind of like annuals, kind of like one-shots. Stories that even the writers like Tom King and them are like, I really wish more readers could read these. They're not cutting corners just because they're in the Walmart books. These are still stories that they want to have out in the world. And the artwork, of course, is no exception. Thanks to Julian and friends of the show, we have actually been able to get a couple of these Walmart books. And yeah, they are legit comic books. They're not just like McDonald's versions of the comics that you've seen, where they're like 2-3 color tones. These are actual books.
I love McDonald's things. Don't bash McDonald's.
Fine, Wendy's, Taco Bell.
Oh,
those are large. They've got higher quality food, but lower quality toys.
Does Taco Bell even have toys anymore? Kids don't go to Taco Bell for the toys. They go for their bean burritos and their chips and cheese.
The only fast food place that I know has, I guess, toys right now is McDonald's, which has Detective Pikachu right now.
What? Why are we not going to McDonald's?
We need to.
We can go to McDonald's on our way to fancy-ass Walmart.
We'll do it tomorrow. And to anyone that hasn't noticed, I am a little bit more nasally than normal. I'm fighting a cold. We'll get to that in the BroCat blog. But in case you're like, oh, he sounds a little bit off. To anyone that's heard us for over since 2012.
Sexy today.
No, not at all.
Very gravelly. And,
maybe when I start coughing, when I get to that stage.
We'll be there soon, guys. No worries.
So moving along, still with comic book news, DC has actually postponed, yet again, the final issue of Batman Damned for June 19th. Now this summer.
Surprise! But JK, not really. This was originally solicited for March 13th. So obviously, was that 2 months later?
3 months
3
now.
months later? It'll get pushed back again.
It's one of those stories.
I feel like they're going back and forth with, do we include the bat penis? Do we not include the bat penis?
Just strong debates at the DC offices. It's this and Doomsday Clock that are the two that anytime I see the news story of pushed back, even now the subscribers at the shop are like, when's the next Doomsday Clock? It has turned into, wasn't there supposed to be, into, when is it? Oh, well, I guess it's this day. All right. And then at that point, when it's not there, when is it? They know now that it's just going to be delayed. Batman Damned and Doomsday Clock. Sales are not going to suffer, but the heat behind the, I guess, collectability of each, I think, is long gone, except for number one, which is still maintaining and slowly rising in price.
That's good that you said that they're not really losing sales, though, because they're great stories, right? People want to stay on them and keep collecting and finish them out. But it sucks that they just can't really get their act together and be like, okay, we're going to get these out.
I still want to know what the story is behind Batman Damned, and specifically. The story is okay. Artwork is gorgeous, of course, and Doomsday Clock has maintained its quality even through the delays. But what are causing the delays with Batman Damned? And I know Brian Azzarello has hinted on Twitter that, he said things like, you won't let me show my story or the bat penis, because they were saying more bat penis. And he's like, you guys won't let me. So there's definitely some changes going on in the offices. Right. And Jim Lee has said that the whole Black Label line has taken a complete overhaul and a complete second look through DC.
Just because men felt a little something when they saw a bat penis ruined it all.
Well, something that is going to be under the Black Label line for DC, they are still continuing them, but no word again on whether we're going to get these large formats like Batman Damned. That doesn't sound like it. But DC has announced that Batman Curse of the White Knight, the sequel to Batman White Knight, is going to release with issue number 1 this July.
How long until they announce that it's been pushed back?
Hopefully they have their shit together now.
Hopefully. In a press release, we do get the following quote, following the critical success of Batman White Knight, Murphy is putting a spin on this upcoming series, with the Joker recruiting a new, savage partner to help him expose a shocking revelation about the Wayne family's legacy. As Batman rushes to protect the city and his loved ones from this corrupt conspiracy, the Dark Knight will come face to face with the horrifying truth. End quote.
I know Sean Murphy, who is the writer and artist on the original series and on the sequel, says that he wants every single issue to have a vehicle in it because he's a huge fan of cars. So far that has been true with White Knight. But I know he wanted to explore more the relationship between one of the Harley Quinns and Poison Ivy. So we'll probably get some of that in the sequel too.
You think it's going to be crazy Harley Quinn?
Neo Joker, I guess, is what she was calling herself. Probably. I don't think it'll be Harleen. I think she's still set on she was the more sane of the two.
Right. I don't know. Maybe because she is sane, she's like, listen, Joker, you're too toxic for me. I gotta jump back over.
Or is it Jack Napier? He's got to come
Whatever.
back, right? He's got to.
Yeah.
It's the continuous transformation between the two characters.
Mhm. We'll see. I'm excited. July will be here before we know it. It's already practically May. Where has the year gone?
If you haven't read White Knight, it is available on softcover now. It is where the Joker and Batman sort of flip sides in that he turns Gotham against Batman and proves that Batman is more harmful to society than he is in a way. So that's kind of where the story starts, and there is going to be a special collector's hardcover that's going to be exclusive through comic book shops that is also releasing this year.
Go and pick it up right now at Walmart, the fancy one, because it's probably open.
There's also going to be 2 spin-off Superman maxi series that were announced at DC Comics last week.
Writer Greg Rucka and artist Mike Perkins will headline investigative reporter Lois Lane.
That's another one that Bendis has been hinting at as well on Word Balloon. And the quote from Rucka, who told the Times, is, "This is our truth, and this is what the book is about. Lois is often described as fearless, but that's a mistake because it implies that nothing frightens her. There's plenty that frightens her. The difference is that it never stops her. She was like that before Superman entered her life, and so she remains." End quote.
I think that's fucking awesome.
I know John Suntress, who is the host on Word Balloon, has said that for years there needs to be a Lois Lane comic where she's just an investigative reporter. She's just on the Daily Planet and you're seeing the ins and out and all the shit that goes on at the Daily Planet. Like, you can do a whole story on that. Whether or not that'll hold in sales, I don't think so, but this is why it's a maxi series. And if this does well enough, maybe then we'll get a full-on Greg Rucka ongoing.
Well, here's the thing about this too, and I'm not trying to be sexist, right? But this could have a lot of appeal for women readers because Lois is such a strong female character. But exactly like you said, it's the ability to tell a good story, and if they do it right, where she's not a strong female for the sake of being a strong female, she's just a strong character that we can pop in and relate to. Like the fact that yes, things scare her, but she keeps pushing on through that. I think that's a great message and a great story to tell. So this could very easily be something that I think could become an ongoing and really pull a lot of female readers.
Mike Perkins is the one who drew the little Captain America shield for you on the Captain America comic at MegaCon.
Yeah, I remember.
You want to tell that story again?
Yeah. Man, that was years ago. I don't even hardly remember that story.
It's the Winter Soldier run of the books, I believe.
We were getting it signed because you had them. It was one of our first MegaCons. Shit, why are you making me remember this far back?
I'll tell you the story.
Okay, please tell me the story.
I came up with the comics, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And signed them. He has an English accent, actually, but he signed them, no problem, no attention. And then you came up with the comics, and he's talking you up a little bit, and then drew a little Captain America shield on there.
He did. I can't help it. I'm a cute woman. I was then. I don't know. That was pre-baby. That was like 50 pounds ago.
He's usually there. Come up with another one and see what he draws this time.
He'll probably be like, hey.
Hey.
Aw, my ego.
Well, that's going to be the test, though. That's going to be the test. The Perkins test.
Is that the Perkins test? See how attractive you are as a woman.
That's the man or women. If he draws you a shield, then you are attractive. So that's Mike Perkins. I'm clearly not, because I'll try again.
You know how I'm going to get all the shit this MegaCon? I'm going to perch that baby right on my hip.
That might work.
Done.
It's an adorable baby.
All the shit. I'll be like, oh, it's actually for the baby. Oh, yeah, done. Everything.
So there's actually another title from Superman, the World of Superman, and that is written by Matt Fraction with art by Steve Lieber. And they're going to launch Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, who works as a Daily Planet vlogger. So kind of modernizing it a little bit.
Lieber gave the following quote, "I think there's a lot of storytelling power in the juxtaposition of the ordinary and the extraordinary, and Jimmy is all about that. It's a chance to be funny in the world full of much larger-than-life characters." End quote.
I'm not too sure about this one by Jimmy. I'm definitely going to sub on Lois, though.
You know what I think about Jimmy?
Oh, no.
Who... It might be good. I don't know. Cares.
Poor Jimmy Olsen.
Listen, I've never liked Jimmy. He was the weirdo redheaded stepchild. I don't know.
Did you like when he died in Batman v Superman?
Yeah, see you later, bye. I don't remember that. Did he die?
He's the reporter where they break open his camera and they check it and it's got the little tracker in there. And he tells them, no, it was me. She has nothing to do with this. And they shoot him in the head.
Oh, I didn't know that. See you later, Jimmy.
So Jimmy Olsen and Lois Lane are going to launch this July.
We're definitely picking up Lois Lane. Are we going to pick up the first Jimmy?
I'll flip through it.
To
I don't
try
know.
It out?
Maybe for the podcast. You guys let me know.
All right.
Heading on over to the live action side of DC Comics and the world of the stuff that we enjoy, the stuff that makes us broke. Warner Brothers' DC Universe streaming service has rolled out right now. You can power up your Xbox One and access the thousands of digital comics and all of the TV shows, movies right on your gaming system.
We have a quote here from Sam 80s, Senior Vice President and General Manager for DC Digital Services, who said, quote, "Since we launched DC Universe last fall, we've been on a mission to expand our reach on new platforms. Fans asked for access to the Ultimate DC membership on their Xbox One consoles, and we are excited to deliver DC Universe to them starting next week. Our growing list of highly acclaimed original series, amazing library of shows, and thousands of comics are now accessible to DC fans and Xbox users alike," end quote.
How much does it cost for DC Universe, Papa Kelly?
$7.99 per month or $74.99 annually. We also have a quote here from Papa Kelly who says, "Who cares?"
You're waiting on the PS4 version?
I don't care either. I have it on my Roku. And Roku's my favorite thing. Now listen, I know you really like your PS4, right? But I love the Roku because it's a one button click and it's done. Not beep, and then I wait 40 years and then click over, click. No, I just hit a button and it's on.
Well, if you do sign up for DC Universe, you will also get Swamp Thing, which is set to release on May 31st. And we got our first look at Swamp Thing as done as we had reported before. They're going to be doing the actual costume of the character, and then they're kind of polish it up with some CGI.
It looks so good.
Looks amazing. And it's a short little video of him coming out of the swamp, but then you see those red eyes and you see the costume itself, and it's all right there. Swamp Thing straight out of the comic books. It's not the massive Swamp Thing that and he might get into that with the show. Who knows what kind of powers he's going to enhance or what they're going to do with the character, if it's going to be more grounded. But we have someone in costume coming out of the water. People online calling it fucking cheap. Hell no, man. This shit looks more real to me than if it were to all just be CG.
And that's the thing. You and I are so much, fans, much bigger fans of doing practical effects as opposed to CG. I think it always looks better.
Yeah, I know sometimes people point to, well, the most recent example where they're saying that the digital effects actually work better than the practical effects is they're comparing cyborgs. So Cyborg from Justice League compared to Cyborg in Doom Patrol, they're saying that there's like a middle ground here where you can do practical effects sometimes don't look great because in some scenes it does. You can see he's just wearing a glove. He's not actually a cyborg. Okay.
So we're comparing effects, but are we also going to compare budgets of these two things?
I mean, there's a lot to be
because I think it's not just black and white. Like these are like, okay, I can make a cyborg costume and say it's practical effects, and let's compare that to the CG one, right?
You're right. You're absolutely right. Well, Swamp Thing looks amazing, and whenever we do say let's prefer one over the other, I guess the caveat is that there's a shit ton of money behind the practical effects. And it does look like, granted, it's only one scene, but so far, it's 100% right. On the Discord chat, well, we'll get to that with the shout-outs, actually.
Is he super... Because I just saw his face, so I didn't see him come in. Is he super handsome? Like, did your heart flutter a little bit? Like, oh.
Well, you saw his face.
Carry me, Swamp Thing.
Yeah, we got to see how jacked he is, I guess. He could just be real thin underneath, right? That'd be kind of weird.
It's so weird. No, he's got to make, like, leaf abs. I don't know why, but he wants to have leaf abs.
Well, I know you want to see leaf abs, but it sounds like we're going to get 3 less episodes of that. As according to North Carolina's Star News newspaper, production on Swamp Thing was unexpectedly shut down early.
The show was originally announced to be 13 episodes, and then they rewrote it and came back and said, here's 10.
Yeah, sources close to the production team revealed that, and Swamp Thing actor Virginia Madsen posted but later deleted a message on Instagram saying, quote, "I'm beyond sad. What a terrible decision. We have been cut to the core by those who have never set foot into the swamp. And despite the rule, I'm going to use the hashtag. Hashtag Swamp Thing," end quote.
Swamp Thing was filming in North Carolina thanks to a state grant.
That says a lot what was going on with this. So it sounds like people that were never on set, never actually seen what was going on with the TV show said, took a look at the budget, took a look at something. Something did not show up or did not make ends meet to where they said, hey, you got to cut this show down to 10 episodes only. And there's been a lot of speculation that the influx of digital comics onto the DC Universe app is kind of like a last-ditch effort to get a ton of subscribers on there. And I know a lot of people are already reporting like it may be the first casualty of the streaming wars. But let's say it's a worst-case scenario, right? Because so far there's been little signs here or there about this, but there hasn't been solid proof that this is actually a failing streaming platform because with streaming, we don't see the numbers. With Netflix, you don't see the numbers, right? So it's the same case with DC Universe. But things like this being cut down sound like a budgetary thing, or the show might be awful based on what they've seen, or it could be a number of things.
Right.
I think once we correlate that with other things, other seasons, second seasons of Titans, for example, then we can really make a decision, but so far that hasn't happened. But again, let's say worst case scenario, this ends up being a platform that gets canceled or whatever. They can still move these shows over to other Warner Brothers owned platforms or deals that they have with certain other streaming services. So I don't think all is lost. So anyone that's hitting the panic button before Swamp Thing even debuts, obviously we're going to see the 10 episodes. And then from there, if we get more seasons, if it's not on the DC Universe streaming service, I think it's still a very attractive property to anyone out there, whether it's TV or Netflix or Hulu.
Attractive because of leaf abs.
More leaf abs will save the show. Do it.
Give him an 8-pack of leaf abs.
If it's green, do they have to be flesh colored, Papa Kelly, or can they still be green?
They have to be green. All of him is green. So you got Dr. Manhattan, who's blue. Swamp Thing is green. We're just going for all the colors.
Yeah, that's right.
Full
Is Atrocitus
spectrum.
red then?
I don't know.
The Red Lantern?
Oh, he's ugly. Don't.
So we need a red still.
Yes. But not a... Why would you know? Atrocitus?
I don't know. This is the first one I went
with his weird Jonah Hex mouth?
Jeez.
No. Blue.
I like how you have no problem, though, with Swamp Thing's, like, leaf mustache or goatee thing or whatever this is.
Because he's handsome. He's got leaf abs.
Or this, like, skeletal drawing sometimes in the Alan Moore books.
It's great. So handsome. Like, if you were in the swamp, right, and you're lost for days, and he just came out of the water, you'd just be like...
You'd fake faint, like, oh no,
carry me, Swamp Thing.
Still slapping mosquitoes, though, like, damn it.
Mosquitoes. Why are they filming in North Carolina, not, like, swampy Florida?
Cheap ass steak, right? You know fucking Florida doesn't want shit filming here, apparently.
I know.
It's a shame. They're all filming in Georgia instead. Wherever the state will pay is where you will film.
Good for Georgia.
Let's head on over to the big screen. And we do have a lot of show notes. Since last week we did the review of Shazam thanks to the Exiles Network. So we moved over last week's show notes into this week's, and we have this week's, of course. So when asked about how concerned they were with connecting Shazam to the DC Extended Universe, director David Sandberg had this to say.
Quote, "I don't know, really. That's what was so liberating with making this movie. It was that we only have to do the best Shazam movie we can do. We didn't have to set up this movie in the future or include references to this or that. I'm not really sure what's going to happen with it, and that's what I love about it. It felt like we were making our own movie. It just takes place in the DC universe." End quote. And that's the way it should fucking be. Don't do all this setup. Don't say, but everything has to connect. I need a reference to everything, and every character has to be in every movie. I hate that shit.
People will argue, of course, that you're saying no to Zack Snyder's universe. But you're right, though. It needs to be focused on just being a right movie. If it connects or does not connect, The stipulation should never be it needs to.
But yes, exactly. The thing about Snyder's universe, right? Yes, they connected, but that was the whole plan from the beginning.
Mhm.
It's not like we're going to make all these different movies and let's twist them and make them connect. That wasn't it. He had this whole plan and said, this is how all my movies are going to be interwoven. So essentially, at the end of the day, you sit down and you line them all up together and you got this fantastic 12-hour movie. And that's what it would have felt like. Instead of other people who just want to throw everybody into every movie so that it all feels like it connects.
The reason I included this story into the show notes is because this further kind of tells us that this is definitely the direction that we're moving in with the DCEU, and that they are not concerned with having each one be the next stepping stone to the next movie. I still thought they were doing fine. Like we got with Wonder Woman, we got with Suicide Squad. They all connected into the universe, and there are very clear connections to previous movies. You saw the fallout of Batman v Superman in Suicide Squad, in which people are selling t-shirts of Superman's death, t-shirts of his logo, and also Amanda Waller saying, yeah, but what if Superman hadn't died, or what we need a plan in case we get more Superman, more aliens, whatever. I thought that was neat. Like I did think that was really cool, but it seems like they're moving even further away from that and separating themselves from needing it to fit in a certain timeline even. Like if you were to look at Shazam, when does that take place? It can take place at any point, really, after Man of Steel.
Accurate.
I guess after Aquaman, because we saw the merch.
Right.
So forget what I said.
I still think it takes place in the next line of this, right? So I still think it takes place after Justice League. I don't know. I was fine with it. And I felt like even with a movie like Shazam, because of how light it was, you didn't really need it to connect. It would be okay standing alone, because I don't really see this Shazam hanging out with Superman and Batman.
I don't see it either, and I don't think we'll get that moving forward.
While Shazam may not be doing everything you hoped it would, it's doing a whole lot for other people. The very active star of Shazam, Zachary Levi, responded to a parent who let them know that the film helped her son out in a very deep and mental level.
Quote here on this tweet, "My son just got back from seeing Shazam. Seeing him so happy makes me want to cry. It's been a rough year for him. He's homeschooling after being bullied. He's in therapy now, and being able to tell him this superhero, as Zachary Levi, has also been and struggled is huge. Thank you," end quote.
Levi's response went viral as he came back with, quote, "My heart is bursting with love right now for your little man. I was bullied a lot when I was a kid and wish homeschool was an option for me at many points along the way. Tell him I'm standing with him and to remember that bullies are just hurt and confused in their own life," end quote.
These tweets went incredibly viral. They were all over the place. And Zachary, this is just one of many points in which Zachary has been very good about outreaching to the fans.
Right.
And even when people were really review bombing Miss Marvel on Rotten Tomatoes, he went out and said, I don't know if this was a mandate by Warner Brothers or not, but he went out and said, hey, this isn't helping my movie by doing this. So you're only, being
Nasty,
harmful
yeah.
to the creators of this other film. So even back then, he's always been very active on Twitter. He's done the live streams on Instagram as well. And now he's outreaching to these people who were deeply affected in a positive way by Shazam. And recently he's been asking people, kind of trying to rally them up to go out and watch the movie. So why not see something that has a star that is such a positive influence to many people out there?
Did you see the video of the little girl who was hugging him and crying?
Yeah.
It was
and he started
so
tearing
sweet.
up
He
as
started
well.
crying too because he was just so moved by how much she was moved. And to me, that's just a mark of someone who's very genuine and really cares about people, not just what his fame has brought him, right? He really cares about these kids and his fans, and I support him. Let's go see it again.
I agree. Not someone who's just bragging about being able to be the strongest and strong enough to defeat Darkseid. So Shazam is in theaters right now.
Moving on over to a film that we really is on our wish list for something that we wish had hit theaters in the way that it was meant to be. but wasn't. In a story that broke exclusively through friends of the show, the Exiles Network, it was revealed that Ray Porter from Argo was cast as Darkseid in Zack Snyder's Justice League cut of the film.
You heard us talk about this last week during the Shazam review. Now we're really going to take a deep dive into what this means, what this could have been, and what it could be later on this year with the Snyder Cut. So since the theatrical release of Justice League, Zack Snyder has confirmed Darkseid's original appearance through his storyboard drawings by confirming on Vero with, quote, "I shoot what I draw." Ray Porter is, you can actually hear him a lot right now in audiobooks. So people are saying that this was it was most likely motion capture, and his line readings were what they were really casting him for in Darkseid. But obviously we know that he can do live action, as he was in Argo and many other productions as well. But the film Exiles were the ones who actually broke the story, and from there it started showing up in places like Screen Rant and Bleeding Cool. Some of these fucking places, I'm not going to name them because let's not give them any pub, did not credit the Exiles Network and the original fucking story, and instead credited Zack Snyder, I guess, on Vero, or cited Zack Snyder as saying he is saying that Ray Porter was. It's like, yeah, he confirmed it, but so did Ray Porter.
Yes, Ray Porter has confirmed it, but in not so many words. He did say on Twitter, quote, "Just over here honoring the NDA. I signed an agreement. I must honor it. This has been a day of days because of you. I am very grateful and humbled by the things I have read. I am unable to confirm anything but my immense gratitude." End quote.
What an awesome fucking guy.
But what a way to put that. Like, that was perfect. It was just confirming without confirming.
That's right. And he's been liking a lot. If you go to his Twitter handle, I think it's Ray__Porter. You go to his likes and it's Darkseid shit, a bunch of Darkseid stuff. People photoshopping his face onto Darkseid, like really all kinds of great artwork. The Ray Porter is that I quickly put together on the thing, and also on Vero and on Instagram. He's been liking all of these things, and it's like, fuck you, NDA. Like, hopefully that shit's not in there, because he's been liking all of that. Hasn't been retweeting any of it,
right?
Because I think that would be sort of like putting out that, yeah. But he has been liking all of this, and he has had one of his friends who worked on audiobooks with him who said, "I didn't sign an NDA," and she's like, "Yeah, he's Darkseid." And you see him underneath like, "Thank you, I love you."
Good for her.
It's amazing.
I want to go around to all these celebrities now and be like, "I didn't sign an NDA. Yes, this happened." And they'd be like, "No, Kelly, that didn't happen."
I know some of the DC Belugas have now like downloaded audiobooks. Like, maybe this is what he sounded like. And it's like, he's not reading it as Darkseid. Like, I get the excitement.
Right.
But they are also trying to convince him, like, can you do a not Darkseid reading to something that's not clearly related and put it up on Twitter just so we can hear what he might sound like? But who knows? Like, we might get that later on.
Do you think, I mean, granted, yes, he could try that, but do you think they would have touched it up at the end so we never really would really know what he'd sound like?
Oh, I'm sure there would be some modulation to his voice. Absolutely.
I hope it sounds like Bane in that first bit that we got.
The IMAX previews.
I'm Darkseid.
I think it's going to be, I can't wait to hear it when and if we finally see Ray Porter's Darkseid on even the little screen, like whatever they end up releasing it on. And he's since gained a shit ton of followers on Twitter. They looked up Ray Porter on Twitter, and he had more tweets that day than Josh Brolin's had for Who Plays Thanos in the upcoming Endgame. So it's like, holy shit, fucking Darkseid beat Thanos this day.
Speaking of Thanos, that's on the best meme. I'm sure you've seen it. Do you remember the cartoon Robin Hood where he goes and kisses the rings and pulls off all the gems? He was doing that with Thanos' glove. Just pulling out all the jewels. Oh my god.
That is perfect.
Cracked me up. Well,
because of the film Exiles' exclusive story, it kind of had the snowball effect. If that hadn't happened, I don't know if we would have gotten this next bit. Since the reveal of Ray Porter as Darkseid, essentially further confirming that Darkseid was absolutely a real thing. The last we had is Zack Snyder saying, yeah, I shoot everything that I draw. It's like, all right, well, he drew Darkseid. He's in there. We got the shot of Darkseid in that engraving that Wonder Woman was seeing with the torch in her hand that was cut from the film. But it's like, all right, well, was he actually in it? Then now we know he was even cast in it and did some work for Justice League. So there's voice work and there's all kinds of stuff. It's like, what other Darkseid stuff was there then, other than the Justice League looking into the boom tube and seeing Darkseid?
Well, actor Nick McKinless confirmed that an entire filmed fight scene between Darkseid and Ares wasn't included in the final cut of the history lesson scene from Justice League.
It's speculated that the visual effects to this fight sequence still needed some polish for the inevitable Snyder Cut release.
Inevitable. I like how it went from never gonna happen to inevitable.
That's my word, by the way. There's another thing, too, that bloggers have been saying of it doesn't exist to, well, they'll never release it, and now to what's probably not good anyway. So it's like,
oh my
they're
God.
clearly like
right,
just
right.
shifting over. Pretty amazing how that happened. And Film Gob actually put together this YouTube. He does amazing YouTube videos, huge DC Beluga. And he put together this compilation of the blue check marks and these bloggers of like last year, them saying it doesn't exist, guys. Stop asking for it. To now, I really want to see it. I hope they release it. Or, it's not going to be good. It's just complete flip-flops. It's like, you fucking idiots. What do you think about this bigger history lesson that was teased? I mean, they teased it as like a Lord of the Rings style epic fight. In Justice League, it was very cut together, very like Wonder Woman just telling the story. Whereas I believe the original Snyder Cut was as she's seeing when they first shot that arrow into, calling Wonder Woman from Themyscira, where she goes into that place and she sees the history lesson essentially, and it plays for her, and that's what we're seeing. And it's a full thing of Zeus and Ares fighting Darkseid and also Steppenwolf. And when you actually, I watched the history lesson on YouTube, the Justice League version before we recorded, and it is jumbled together. Like there's some scenes that don't make sense that kind of follow. One of which is when Steppenwolf is bringing down the axe on Steppenwolf. When Ares is harming Steppenwolf, like he gets it into his shoulder, and then from there it quickly cuts into him getting dragged off into his ship. But he's got like lightning on him, and maybe that's them holding him back. But it's just such an odd cut to where there must have been more here. And there's the whole thing now that we know that there was a full, like he said, they filmed it, it's done. But there's some visual effects work that still needs to happen. So a fight scene between fucking Ares and Darkseid, that is fucking amazing. They also credited the actor from Wonder Woman who played the, I guess, older Ares, or the one that from Harry Potter. And you see David's name on the credit scene, but he wasn't credited as the kind of body of Ares in Justice League. So it's kind of like another, like, fuck you guys, I'm going to fucking tell them what we actually did.
Right.
And I think it's also been hinted that David would have voiced over himself, and there might have even been some face replacements on there, and he would have just been like essentially the stunt double or the body double to Ares. And that also says that there's probably dialogue between Ares and Darkseid at that point, or between Ares and Zeus. More so, I mean, we didn't get any in the Justice League cut. It was just yelling and screaming and fight scenes. There's
so much that they could have done with this, and I think it would have been so much more powerful, especially because of the role that he played in Wonder Woman. So we go from seeing him as this villain, right, in Wonder Woman, to now in this, he's really kind of the hero saving Earth. So that would have created a weird mix of emotions, I think, ultimately among people, to see him in this different light. But then we also could have gotten cool Zeus with his little lightning bolts, like, lightning.
That's still the only part I'm disappointed in, because in Wonder Woman, we got his first look at him, and he's got like his little towel, like barely covering his penis, like, ooh, oh, my robe.
But it fell off.
And then in like Snyder's, he's like this bulky man, and I'm like, oh man, but I kind of want that like dainty, like feminine Zeus.
He took many forms for whatever woman he was screwing.
That's
so
true.
He was just screwing a different woman then.
Needed to be tough in front of Darkseid and Steppenwolf.
Yeah. And then some woman was probably like, ooh. And he got
probably. Yet another child. I'm excited. Like, if this expanded history lesson happens, then fantastic. Something else that was talked about on the DC Films Hub podcast, and it's not necessarily fully confirmed. There was a little bit of expansion on this, but when you watch the history lesson, it does also make sense. And they've been spot on a lot of things as well. Is that in that history lesson scene, you see the mother boxes, the three that are come together and transform Earth into a more apocalypse-like, he rules this area, right? The mother boxes are broken up by Zeus, who throws a lightning bolt, and they go from 1 to 3. And they actually end up disintegrating the 3 priests behind them that are kind of putting them together. So when they come apart, people die. And Zeus was able to break them apart. Well, the original ending, supposedly, to Snyder's cut of Justice League was when Cyborg and maybe Superman, definitely Cyborg, when they break apart the 3 mother boxes, that they also end up dying from that explosion. So Barry, when he notices as he's running fast, you see time slow down and everything slow down. He's like, if I go faster, maybe I can reverse time. So he's able to do that in this original cut. Goes back a few minutes, and just like we saw him resurrect Superman with the mother boxes where he's running from one side of the ship to the other, and then a small amount of electricity makes connections with the mother box, and they're able to kind of reactivate it, and Superman as well. Well, he goes even further for a larger bolt, and he's now back in time to when they're separating the mother boxes, and uses that, and that ends up saving Cyborg and possibly Superman, very much like Zeus did in that history lesson. So it would have been Zack Snyder kind of doing that throwback, or as you said, the tie-in of those 2 different time periods. They were able to stop Steppenwolf and Darkseid yet again, but with superheroes. These are the modern gods.
I'm so happy that we're getting all this information, even if we never see it, which I hope we do. It's still really cool that all this stuff is coming out, and we can at least piece it together in our minds.
Latest rumor is that at San Diego Comic-Con is when they will officially announce the release of the Snyder Cut. We will see if it actually happens. I know it was rumored very similarly last year, but now it seems like the Snyder Cut movement is stronger than ever, and that's thanks to people like the Exiles Network that we're getting even more information of this Snyder Cut, and Snyder, of course, being very active on Vero and confirming certain things, actors out there, like Ray Porter, like subtly confirming things. So all of this is really piecing together and coming together for fans who have been wanting this for what will eventually be a couple of years after Justice League.
So because this is the year of Batman, we cannot get enough Batman in our lives. Fathom Events has decided to help us out even more. As part of Batman's 80th anniversary, they will be playing all 4 Tim Burton and Joe Schumacher Batman films across 600 movie theaters.
I think it's Joel, but Newsarama misspelled it.
No, I thought it was Joel too, and I'm like, Daniel, I mean, you put Joe, so I was reading Joe.
Yeah, I was like, no, let's leave this.
I think it's definitely Joel because of that Batman the Animated Series episode.
It's definitely Joel. So Fathom Events Vice President of Studio Relations Tom Lucas said, quote, "The cycle of Batman films that began with Tim Burton's big screen classic 30 years ago this summer is an amazing group of films that helped usher in an exciting new era of movie making. We're honored Warner Brothers has turned to Fathom Events to celebrate the 80th anniversary of Batman with these iconic superhero films," end quote.
That's fantastic. Do you know how full those theaters are going to be?
Maybe pretty full. Maybe not so much for Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, but...
If you want a bad movie night, yeah, go see them. You don't want to see Bat Nipples?
I mean, I'll watch them. I'll watch all of them. I don't care. A lot of people have made parallels with this particular series of films and also with the DCEU, because at that point, the Batman Tim Burton films were also deemed as too dark to sell Happy Meal toys, to where that then took that shift into Batman Forever and inevitably Batman and Robin. So we're now seeing that yet again as history repeats itself.
Ugh, people, they just can't learn. And now they're all like, but those movies were great.
But meanwhile, you're like, but Shazam was great. So I guess it's working.
I did like Shazam. But I liked Shazam because it was a Shazam movie, not because it was lighter.
And that is the difference. Over to the opposite side of the spectrum, because I know we do have some MCU sheep on here and they like their Disney news. According to Disney chairman Bob Iger, Star Wars Episode 9 will mark the end of the current slate of Star Wars movies.
Iger told Bloomberg, quote, We have not announced any specific plans for movies thereafter. There are movies in development, but we have not announced them. We will take a pause sometime and reset because the Skywalker saga comes to an end with this 9th movie. There will be other Star Wars movies, but there will be a bit of a hiatus, end quote. That was a giant way to say we're taking a break. He said it 14 times in that quote.
And as we take a break, we're going to do 5 casinos and 3 cruise ships to celebrate the hiatus with Star Wars and 10 rides to all go with the Captain Marvel ones.
While we take a break.
Oh, Bob. Iger shifted focus to their line of Star Wars television series that are going to be available on Disney+. So they're saying, if you want your Star Wars stuff, be sure to subscribe to Disney+, because that's where we will continue our Star Wars worlds. And they're going to probably refocus for the next trilogy to, I guess, make them more in line to what fans want, even though they've been unhappy since episode 1 anyway, so...
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't kept up with the Star Wars franchise, right? I haven't seen the last, 3 movies. But I know people who are huge Star Wars fans, and they're even pissed that... So, obviously they made Luke, terrible? Can't do shit?
He does a lot in The Last Jedi, but they're upset that he kind of ostracized himself to this planet for years as opposed to being the character that they saw in the original trilogy of, let's stop this other side from taking over the universe.
Right. So, anyway, the people that I've talked to are pissed that they did that. People complained, and now they're like, oh, now he's great again. And he's like, but that wasn't what you had set up. And just do what you were going to do. Whatever.
A lot of the people that have said, we're going to boycott the Star Wars movies moving forward are, of course, eating this up like, oh, guess what? Emperor Palpatine is back. And what do you have to say officially now? People have tweeted you about this.
They have?
They have.
Oh, shit.
What do you have to say about the fact that Palpatine is coming back in The Rise of Skywalker?
I have been in every movie. You guys just never see me.
Ooh, now you guys got to go watch.
Yeah.
Got to go back and really pause every fucking frame.
No, I mean every movie. Not just Star Wars movies. I am in every movie. The essence of Palpa is somewhere. I don't know. I didn't even see the trailer. I was, again, too busy on set. Sorry I haven't answered your tweet, guys. I can barely Discord unless you put an at Palpa Kelli. Daniel all the time, he's like, why aren't you answering Discord? Did they at me? No.
It's the only time, right?
You got to at me or I don't see it.
So moving forward to the last bit of news this week, because we did miss it on the first episode of the month, it is what's new on Netflix for this month, the April 2019 highlights.
This is not the full list. This is just things that Daniel feels pertains to us, and so he puts them in here because all this list, who cares?
All right, well then I will read off the list.
Read them.
Freddy versus Jason.
Who cares?
Something that people had wanted to see for many, many years, and we finally did end up getting it many years ago. And it kind of does its job. Like, you see them fight each other. You see Jason in Freddy's realm. You see Freddy get pulled into the real world, out of the dream world. And for what it is, it's fine. It's cool. Like, you get to see the big classic horror monsters. Yes, they are modern classics. Fight it out on the little screen now on Netflix.
Who cares?
Also, I Am Legend, which is the first appearance of Batman versus Superman. It takes place in the future, and at one point when Will Smith is walking down the street, you see a big billboard for Batman versus Superman on there. Because it was a property that was also in development by Warner Brothers for many years, and eventually we got it. But the other big thing that I remember from that movie, aside from the changed ending, which is pretty controversial with a lot of people, but in theaters, when they cut to like him walking past the gas station and the prices are like astronomical, I remember everyone like, oh my God. Just the audience collectively gasped at these gas prices.
It hit them in their wallet. How much were the gas prices?
I don't remember at the time. They might have been close to what they are now, or they were just like a $9 gallon thing. Something ridiculous. Which
is probably still pretty close to what they are now in some places.
Also, The Fifth Element, which has sort of become a cult classic. Chris Tucker is in it. Great, great role. And the Funko Pop I was happy to trade in to the comic book shop. It ended up going for $60.
That's amazing.
Ridiculous. Sold it within a week, too.
We also have Ultraman Season 1. This will be a Netflix original.
I grew up on some Ultraman episodes or movies because of my mom, because she grew up on that in Mexico City. And so I watched this new Netflix adaptation of it. It's not for me. I did not really think that the story was strong enough. And I gave it a couple of episodes, but yeah, I don't know if this is really the Ultraman revival.
And finally, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Season 1, Part 2.
Has definitely had an impact with readers and viewers because I have sold several of the Sabrina trades since the show released. And of course, the Sabrina comic book, which came out recently, I've been recommending to people as they ask about it. I tell them, hey, it's not nearly as dark as the show, just a heads up, but it is a modern take on Sabrina.
So that is the end for our list. What's new on Netflix April 2019? Again, not the full list. You can go to Google, ask for the full list. You'll find it up there.
Let's head into our Patreon shoutouts for the week.
Whew. This is a very full Patreon week. We have 8 Patreon shoutouts. First one goes out to John, whose Twitter handle is at John72Tex. Instagram is at Johnny2, that's the number 2, Chips.
John shared his CGC graded 9.0 Detective Comics number 359, which is the first appearance of Batgirl.
Cool.
Very high grade for that book. That is an amazing grading, and I know he filed in for the pressing, which obviously helped with a higher grade on it. So good on you, John. He has some gems, and he posts them up on Instagram.
Our next shout out goes out to Brian, whose Twitter handle is at BrianSchaup1.
Brian agreed with me when the Film Exiles podcast asked what film they should review next, and that is The Fountain.
You have to guest star if they do The Fountain.
I'll happily guest star if they do The Fountain. We'll see if that happens. Next shout out goes out to Kat on Instagram at Katsha.
Kat is living my dream. She has a fantastic photography Instagram. Definitely follow her. See all the amazing pictures she puts up.
And Kat is spelled Kattsha. So that's at Katsha.
Our next shout out goes out to Matt, whose Twitter handle is at Mr. Forklift.
Matt retweeted Mark Hamill's tweet of, quote, mystery of who's laughing at the end of Rise of Skywalker trailer solved with an image of Jedi Joker.
That would be crazy. That's too crazy. Don't even. Why, Mark Hamill? Why would you even think that?
Next shout out goes out to Jared on Twitter at Spoon Sandwich. Also, youtube.com/Jared Monroe.
Jared said, quote, got my son up this morning by informing him that he was going to be late for work. It worked better than it does for me. # dad life. End quote.
Nicely done, Jared. You got to find all kinds of ways.
Oh, man.
Apparently. And I'm taking tips for what Jared has been saying. Like one of his bath time ones is to put bubbles in there, which I know Cuban Slim suggested to him, and apparently it worked like a charm. So when Leo becomes difficult on getting up for work, it's like, hey, or school, you got to go to work, buddy. Earn some fucking money.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Dad? I said, come on, wake up.
Come on, honey.
You're dreaming, son.
We have some cereal at the table for you.
Next shout out goes out to Scott from the Lazy Gaming Guys. Twitter handle is at Lazy Gaming Guys.
Scott purchased his Blu-ray copy of Dragon Ball Super the movie.
This has Broly in it. I can't wait to watch that with you, Kelly.
I'm so excited.
We have it, and I can't wait to watch it. It arrived 2 nights ago.
Why are we recording
I want to watch
this
it
podcast?
tonight.
Why are we? I don't have time. I'm tired. Why are we recording this podcast when I could be watching Vegeta?
As people put it, the only movie where Vegeta doesn't get shit on.
Yes.
Isn't that sad?
That is real sad. I actually got into this whole Vegeta discussion with one of my coworkers the other day because they were pulling up something on their phone and the background was like blue-haired Vegeta, and I was like, oh, it's Vegeta. And he's like, yeah, Vegeta's the best character because of this, this, and this. And I'm like, I know, and this, and this. And he's like, yeah, he's way better than Goku. And I'm like, I fucking know.
You're like, you're not giving me any new information.
Right. I'm probably giving you new information now, but whatever. And then finally I had to say, listen, I have to go work because I could talk about Vegeta all day long.
Next shout out goes out to Jose on Instagram at Decal Avenue.
Jose is fantastic at helping us out of the $5 reward tier through decalavenue.com.
Final shout out this week goes out to at Innsmouth_Tide.
When he saw the I can't even. when he saw the Swamp Thing teaser, he tweeted, quote, "Well, my boxers just got pregnant," end quote. It was those leaf abs.
Probably. No, if they had shown the leaf abs, he would have came instantly.
Done. Well, yeah.
And
then
it turns to come green too. Whenever you come to Swamp Thing, your cum turns out green.
Oh, shit. That's a problem.
This was on Discord, by the way, and this is not the only one. Like, also OmniJam put like the button of nut, like the hand coming down on the button.
Oh my
like,
God.
Nut.
Why are men obsessed with this?
They love this Swamp Thing. They really do.
No, but men are just obsessed with coming. I
That's our whole biological function. That's why. That's our whole purpose.
I get it, but you don't hear women all the time like, "Oh man, just got pregnant."
Yeah, you're right. That's true.
And that's our whole biological function.
I don't know then. Maybe I have no idea. We're more forward with it because our fucking production things is more forward. It fucking literally sticks out of us. That's the only thing. That's the only poetic way I can put this.
That wasn't very poetic.
Someone get fucking closer to that shit. Try to top that. I don't know. Like, I'm not a poet, but good luck. Come up with an explanation because I have none. Sorry, men. It's working though. The human species is still going.
I mean, I get that, but listen, I could go into a whole thing about men only talk about coming with other men too. I just find it all very
somehow not gay.
I find it all very odd.
No, it's super gay. If you too would like to join our Discord lounge, where we apparently just a bunch of guys talking about coming, if you swipe on over to the episode's description, you will find a link to our Discord lounge. Also, if you go to thereasonsimbroke.com, scroll all the way to the bottom, and you will find our Discord link.
If you too want your Patreon shoutouts every single month for as little as $1 a month, that's only 25 cents an episode. You too can get your shout out. Just go to patreon.com/thereansI'mbroke. But of course, the best thing you can do is reach out to us on Twitter, talk to us on Discord about coming and leaf abs. But let your friends know about us as well. That's what helps our podcast grow.
We got 2 segments left today on today's episode. Let's head on over to our book highlight of the week.
As we said in the very beginning, this is Masters of Comics, as brought to you by Insight Editions.
Masters of Comics offers a rare personal look at these artists' unique creative environment spaces in which some of the greatest comics and graphic novels of the last 50 years took place.
This book is written by Joel Meadows.
While a lot of us do attend panels at comic conventions like MegaCon coming right up, where we can ask questions to a lot of these creators, we can get some commissions done at these different tabling events. We never get to really see the workspaces. We got some of that on Comic Book Men, and sometimes they'll share it on Twitter. I know Dustin Wynn is pretty good at sharing his workspace, but otherwise, no one has really truly cataloged a lot of these things with a variety of comic book writers and or artists. Some of them do both. Unlike this, which is Masters of Comics, as you flip through this, much like Inside Editions has done in the past with The Art of Aquaman, and even the more recent Back to the Future hardcover, it is a very visual book, but at the same time, you're getting a lot of information from these masters. There's interviews on their processes, interviews on what they do, why they work in traditional artwork as opposed to digital, or why they do digital as opposed to traditional. And all of that is in here through these different interviews, and these are huge names in modern comics.
You summarized it, spot on so well, but I think that this is such an interesting concept. So especially if it has your favorite artist on there, right? Then you're going to get it to find out more about them. Or if you're trying to get into this space and you want to say the best of the best, right? What are they doing? How can I emulate that? And just taking the time to flip through and read, you get panels of their artwork, which everything is stunning that they've included in here. It was just an amazing thing for them to put together.
I love that you also get pictures of them in their workstations. Like the one of J.H. Williams III of just him chilling.
Yeah.
Like in his fucking space with all the trades
drinking his coffee.
Hardcovers. It's like, for the picture, do the coffee. It's like a lot of them probably have alcohol, which is awesome. But you have huge names here like Raphael Albuquerque, fucking huge, Frank Cho, John Paul Leon, Milo Manera.
Wow.
These are not just... let's just see. No, these are masters of comics. You don't title that without getting them. Tim Sale, fucking Tim Sale, amazing, amazing soft cover. And it's all done in the bigger presentation as well. So you get to see the different concept art, the different covers, the different images of them in their studios. And I don't know what the process was to getting these images. I don't know if they had to send someone to all of these places or
Right.
have someone, but the image quality is consistent throughout the entire book, that I'm guessing that it was someone going out and photographing these masters of comics, and these different also workstations and work pieces that we get in full quality as well from Inside Editions is gorgeous. You can take so much time just processing the answers and then looking at their artwork as you go back and forth with these different interviews as well. Eduardo Rizzo is on there too. Fucking amazing. Amazing work and amazing cast of comic book people that Inside has put together. And honestly, I want them to do more. I hope there's a Masters of Comics 2. We got to get Dustin Wynn in there. We got to get so many more names that are huge in comic books right now. And hopefully this is the first of many from Inside Editions.
This book retails for $24.99. I think it's well worth the price. If you want to get your hands on one of these, you can check with your local comic book shop. There, you can also get it through Inside Editions. We have the link in the show notes, but insighteditions.com.
If you have not seen many of our tweets that have gone on, definitely check out one of those links because it will take you to different retailers where you can find the Masters of Comics. But of course, it is in the previous catalog, so you can get it through your LCS as well if you would like to shop local and support your local comic book shop, and also support friends of the show, Insight Editions. Thank you so much for sending this over for the Reasons I'm Broke podcast and for you, the Brokehead Core.
But with that, guys, we wrap up the bulk of our show, right? You got all the news, you got our Patreon, we got our comic book highlight, and now it is what happened with Daniel and I this week. Again, the best for last.
We ended up moving this to the end as a decision, mainly on my part, I guess, but you ended up agreeing too, that the flow of the show as far as comics, movies, TV, video games, and more ended up kind of getting broken apart a little bit by the Brokehead block in which it was Papa Kelly and I in our personal lives. And we figured, let's move it to the end of the show because the Brokeheads that want to know about what happened with Papa Kelly and I are going to stick around to the end of the show for our personal lives. And those that just want the comic book news and all of that can tune out at this point. So that's what it's going to be moving forward. The Brokehead block first. If you are in the Central Florida area and you're going to MegaCon, we're going to have our second annual post-MegaCon meetups, the first of which is going to be on May 16th. So next month on the 16th at the Ale House on International Drive at 9 p.m. If you head on over to facebook.com/thereasonsimbroke, click on events and you can attend and you can invite your friends as well. If you do plan on attending, please RSVP as soon as possible. That way we know how many seats to get at the Ale House as we all discuss our MegaCon hauls, our MegaCon stories, and get some grub and drinks after a long night of conning.
The 16th is the Thursday, so the very first night of MegaCon. Keep that in mind. I won't be there.
You'll be Leo watching?
I will be Leo.
Resting?
Watching him sleep, yes.
You're usually pretty tired after a convention night, so...
I really am. I mean, I will be there in spirit with all of you. I'll probably be texting Daniel, so if you have questions for me, absolutely. But part of that hashtag mom life is taking care of that little man.
We're going to be doing an event for Friday night as well, but we'll have those details as we get a little bit closer to MegaCon. But if you do attend MegaCon, whether it's one of our events or just a convention itself, and you run across us, you get a Brokehead Core pin. Let's say our pin is, of course, available at thereasonsimbroke.com, and you can buy one there under pin. If we spot you at MegaCon with a t-shirt of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, as available on the TeePublic store, you get a pin. So 2 ways to get a pin: show up at one of our events or wear a t-shirt at the convention. You get a pin.
Easy peasy.
Done and done. And if you need to coordinate with us on Twitter, like, hey, I'm over here right now with my t-shirt, fine. We'll meet you right there Thursday and Friday only, though. We don't mess with Saturday, Sunday.
Who goes on those days? That's too busy. I can't. Too tired.
We also did have something go up on our YouTube channel.
Yes, we did a Back to the Future Race Through Time hardcover video. So this is another book by Insight Editions. So much fun. If you're a fan of Back to the Future, this is definitely something that should be on your list of things to get.
But this is not something that you can just, talk about, really. You got to see the video because we go through, there's a little collectible DeLorean that goes with the hardcover that actually literally races through the hardcover. You got to see it for yourself. Head on over to youtube.com/thereasonsimbroke for the video of Back to the Future Race Through Time from Insight Edition. Once again, friends of the show, thank you so much, Insight Editions.
Leo loved this book.
That's right.
Mostly the DeLorean.
Do it for Leo.
Do it, yes.
What's been going on with you, Papa Kelly, this week?
Too much shit. You want to go back and forth? You want me just to say all my stuff?
We can go back and forth.
I got a lot going on. So the first thing that happened, I came home on my Friday, right? I'm not off weekends, so my Friday. And the mailman handed me a package. And I was like, shit, this is a heavy package. And I look at the front, and it's addressed to you and I from Dustin Wynn. And I almost died. I was like, he knows my address. So you purchased original art from Dustin Wynn, a cover of Batman being all Batman-y and looking awesome. And he just included everything in the world with it. And it was like Christmas Day opening up this package and finding all the things that Dustin had sent me.
That's right.
And I was very excited.
Yeah, we included it this week on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, Tumblr, and LinkedIn. But the piece is one that was available on his Big Cartel store. He had put it out on Instagram and said, hey, these are going to be available later in the week. Let me know if you want these. And I sent him a message. And I was like, hey, I don't know if it's already been spoken for, but one of the covers is literally the opening of Batman the Animated Series with the lightning bolt, but it's done in Lil Gotham style.
Lil Gotham by Dustin Wynn.
It's like, hell yeah, we got to get that. And I said, we looked at the price and you're like, I'll split that with you. And it's like, all right, fucking done. And not only did he send that, but he also asked us for a character to do an original head sketch of a character. We were back and forth like, man, should we do this character or that? Mr. Freeze or the ventriloquist that he co-created with Paul Dini. And we ended up going with Poison Ivy.
Beautiful.
And it came out gorgeous.
Beautiful.
And on top of that, as you mentioned, there was a full care package. So there's a couple of trades in there that he worked on. There's
signed.
Some stickers, all signed. Some stickers, temporary tattoos, pins, all kinds of great stuff that he sent in this care package with a personal note that said, thank you guys for the long time support. So it's amazing.
You're welcome, Dustin Wynn.
We've been longtime fans of Dustin, so it's
years.
It's great that he's still, as big as he's gotten with Image Comics and everything, he still remembers every detail. When I came up to his table at C2E2 a couple years back, he's like, hey, I know this guy, and then immediately followed up with, hey, where's Papa Kelly? Where's Kelly? So it's pretty amazing. That's the caliber type of artist that he is. Dustin Wynn's the top of the line.
Did I ever tell you the story of the first comment I ever got back from him?
I don't think so. Go ahead and tell it.
So it was on fucking DeviantArt when that was a thing, right? And he had drawn his Mr. Freeze, and it was animated series Mr. Freeze. This had to easily be 9-10 years ago, right? And I just commented with, oh, it's like, Mr. Freeze from the animated series. I love it. And he fucking responded. And he was like, yeah, that's one of my favorites too. And I was like, oh my God. He knows who I am now.
That was back when we were reading, I think, Gotham City Sirens, right?
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Maybe Streets of Gotham? Did he do that one too?
Yeah, he did that one too.
I think it was back for that one.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Heart of Hush. But he did do, in Heart of Hush, it's the first appearance of the Gotham City Sirens. Right. So literally, he did do the Gotham City Sirens.
He's awesome. Thank you, Dustin, if you're listening. This made my week.
As I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I have gotten sick when we rarely get sick, you and I.
Right.
So as I told Manu from the film Exiles, it took a bigger blow on my ego than on my health, because I'm like, God damn it. And because I had to tough it out at work, I'm like, well, I'm going to fucking work a full shift. Fuck that shit. Because it makes up for the fact that I'm sick in my mind.
Okay.
Like Riggs would understand if that makes any sense. So I got through my work day, which was a new comic book day. It's a Wednesday. It's when you got to be on, firing on all cylinders. And sure enough, I fucking got through it. I did it. And regulars said, hey, man, you're sick. You're not feeling well. They knew. They realized that it's not hard to hide your eye from watering constantly, your nose from running. And I was constantly sanitizing my hand. I don't want to get anyone sick. And And I also don't want to call in someone either. So it's lose-lose either way, but I got through it. And then tonight, of course, let's record the podcast because the show must go on for you. So there it is. I'm getting through it. And thankfully, you've helped me a lot. You did your own care package. You packed my lunch. You gave me Dayquil. You're giving me NyQuil tonight.
I am. Making sure you get that sleep.
Meanwhile, I'm my hashtag dad life of like, I don't want to get Leo sick. Like, I'm extra careful around him and you.
Realistically, I think Leo's probably the one who got you sick because he was sick earlier this week, remember? For like a day.
Was it that or was it his teeth were bothering him?
No, I'm pretty sure he had a cold.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's why, because he ran a mild fever. Granted that it could have been contributed to the teeth and the shots and several different things. But yeah, little man was sick for just the second time in his life, which is pretty amazing for a year and a half, especially being a kid. Ran a low fever, had that runny nose. So I've been playing mom and wife duty to sick men with their men colds.
It hits us harder.
Whatever. If I was as sick as you, I would still have to do everything.
Would you say Leo also had a man cold?
Yes.
And I've
100%.
also had to do everything. I also went to work. What are you fucking talking about?
I'm proud of you.
And I told you I'm going to mow the lawn tomorrow, and you told me no because of the allergies. Yes. But I'm still going to have the same side effects anyway, so I might as well fucking mow the lawn.
The allergies
Logic.
Because the allergies will knock you on your ass. Because
this thing is knocking me on my ass.
Listen, I get that. But when you have a cold, right, and then you have allergies, it compounds. It doesn't just cancel each other out and be the same thing.
It combines into the exact same thing.
No, it
yes,
doesn't.
It does.
It gets worse. It's just going to be
Let's test it tomorrow then.
Let's not test it and just let me mow the lawn and then we'll be fine. It's 30 minutes of my headphones in and my music and not having to watch our kids. So it'll be me time.
We'll talk about this later.
Does your wife always get what she wants?
Well, today you got 2 babies, so I don't know if that's what you want, but you have to watch over 2 kids.
I did. So we talked about this a few weeks ago where I helped out a friend and watched his kid for him. Needed help again today. So again, and people keep thinking I'm insane for doing this for people, right? I get that. But there will come a day in my life where I will call upon somebody to help me out when I'm in a tough spot. And I think it would be wrong of me to not do that for other people, even if I'm not calling upon that person to do it for me, right? Because I believe that if you're a shitty person, people are going to be shitty to you.
It's going to reflect back,
right?
Of course.
It's going to, in some way, it will reflect back. So when someone comes up to me and says, I have nobody to watch my kid, can you help me out? Absolutely. That's fine. Sure, it was like a 5-hour, 6-hour day with this kid, but they needed help. They didn't have anybody else. What were Leo and I doing? We were going to sit on our butt in the house, and granted, it would have been a more relaxing day, but they needed help.
How old is the baby?
He was born in December, so what's that, 5 months now?
Okay.
5 months
So 5-month-old and a year and a half old.
Year and a half old. So I switched it up this time. Last time I went to their house. This time I said, these kids are coming to my house. So already, just by making that switch, it was 1,000 times easier than it was going to their house, because I took little AC. She went to play with the other dogs. So it was just me and the 2 babies. But then Leo was in his own house. He's in his own element. I'm not worried about him knocking over DVDs. I'm not worried about the other dogs jumping on him, right? It's just us in our space, and Leo can run around and do what he wants. I actually got both babies to sleep at the same time. I felt like fucking Wonder Woman in No Man's Land times a million.
It's like breaking up the mother boxes.
Oh my God, it was amazing. So it took like careful coordination, because I had to get little baby Russell to sleep and then put him in the swing. And then I had to curl up with Leo and get Leo to sleep. And then they were both asleep for like 30 to 45 minutes. And I ate quietly in the kitchen, like, don't wake up, don't wake up.
Over the sink?
Pretty much. And so then Russell woke up first because he's a little baby. He's just taking short naps, whereas Leo's taking a long one. And so then I was able to get phone calls done for different things. And we went in Leo's room and just played quietly. And Leo's at the age now, he takes naps on our bed, but he's big enough that he can get down and come out and find me. So that's what I let him do. Like when he woke up, he got off the bed, he came and he found me. And then we were good to go. So overall, we had a good day. I'm fucking exhausted. And it's just reaffirmed that I am not ready for another child anytime soon. And people keep telling me, well, when it's your own. And I'm like, no, because I was not Kelli today. I was mom mode times 1,000.
You were a woman. You weren't a girl. You were a woman.
I was a woman. But I did get a message from Russell's mom that says, I don't know what you did, but he went down so easily tonight and he's sleeping great. We had the easiest night ever. And I said, well, thanks.
Nice. Nicely done.
Man, it was exhausting. I called my dad halfway through and I'm like, because my mom was a stay-at-home mom for 5 years with us. And I said, how did my mother do this for 5 years? Because I'm going insane. Just trying to juggle. And Leo, he was so sweet though. He kept like touching the baby's head and laughing at the baby and trying to make the baby smile. But of course, when I'm trying to feed Russell with his bottle, which takes up your whole lap, right? Holding a baby. Leo wants to be in my lap too.
He wants to watch and see.
And Leo wants to hold the bottle, but he's got to spin the bottle while the baby's drinking.
So he wants to hold it for the baby? I didn't know this.
Yeah, he wanted to hold it for the baby, but he had to spin it. Just okay, so he had to spin it. And then they had caps for their bottles, you know, that those things that we always threw away. Well, they had caps for their bottles. So then he kept trying to pull it out of the baby's mouth so he could put the cap on it. And I'm like, Leo, I need to feed the baby. So then I take it away, and then it was drama. And Leo throwing himself on the ground and crying hysterically because he can't put the cap on the bottle that the baby's drinking out of. And he can't spin the bottle. So, yeah, that was our son. But he was very, very sweet and gentle with Russell.
You mentioned you're calling your dad and telling him about the 5 years that your mom spent with you. Your dad actually 2 days ago came home with, I don't know if, well, I guess, yeah, we can talk about it, but it's like homemade moonshine. Mm-hmm. And he didn't, I'm guessing it's still from Georgia, the Georgia moonshine that he usually brings down. And it's an amazing batch of homemade moonshine that he gets from someone. And this time he got a bigger batch of it. Mm-hmm. And I got 3 jars of it. He gifted me 3 jars. He gifted me the majority. He came home with 5 and he kept 2 for himself.
Well, yes, because those 2 will last him 2 years.
I'm down to 1.
Those 3 will last you the weekend. So. Yes, he knows how much you like it. He's got an acquaintance who may or may not legally be making moonshine.
May or may not be moonshine.
May or may not.
Could be apple juice.
It's just apple juice with some cinnamon sticks.
Yep, all it is.
That's it.
So I haven't enjoyed it yet. I haven't cracked one open, but it's one of those things like the Kinder eggs. You have to really enjoy them.
Really savor it because you're not going to get any until
another year or so.
Until next year.
I'll probably take a picture of every time I have one of those. Put them up on Twitter.
Should. All your moonshine. The biggest piece of news for me this week, it's kind of been compiling over the last 2 weeks, and it's a scary time for me, but really exciting. So I have made the decision this week to leave my job of 10 years and set forth brand new company, kind of the same thing I was already doing, right? But it's something that I think is going to be better for our family. So I applied for this position and did all my research, and within 2 weeks they were making me an offer, and I said, all right, this is the direction that I need to go.
Something that is very comparable to what you were doing before as far as a management position. And it is a company that they normally don't hire outside the company for this massive position. And they ended up interviewing you several times just to make sure that you were the right person. Because again, it is not something that they normally do, but clearly they wanted you for the store.
Because I'm awesome at what I do, right? So yes, I had 3 different interviews over 2 weeks. And, you know, you mentioned that it being a comparable position. And in a lot of ways it is. But for the most part, I actually think it's a step up for me. Realistically, there's going to be more responsibility. There's going to be more control over the area that I'm in. But, you know, the support that I'm going to have and the flexibility that I'm going to have is much greater than what I have now. And the ability to move up and onward with my career, which is something that I don't have right now, or really the ability to have control over where my career goes, which again, I don't have right now, is leaps and bounds ahead of where it is. So it was a really big decision because obviously my family comes first, right? I need to make sure that this was a good fit for us to make sure that I can take care of you and Leo in the ways that I need to. And every single step of the way, it was more encouragement on that aspect, and really them sitting down with me and looking at me and saying, your family balance is just as important as the work that you do here. We need to make sure that you're taken care of so you can take care of everybody else that you need to when you come into work. And that's something that I don't think I've ever heard in my entire 10 years where I was. So right there, I was like, I'm done. This is just where I need to go and what I need to do. So I am extremely excited for this next step. I think it's really the right move. And while it's scary knowing that I'm leaving, pretty much the only thing I've done with my entire career, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since I've been able to work for this particular company I'm at, I've been working there. So it makes me a little anxious that I'm going into something unknown because I've known this for 10 years. But, I mentioned to you, I haven't been happy where I am for, I don't even know how long, right? How long has it been that I go, oh, okay, it's Monday, it's time to go to work. And really, life is too short to be in a job where you don't want to be, or where you're counting the hours till you can go home, or, you're saying, well, how many call-in days do I have? Is it shitty if I just call in? Like, I literally count the number of people in my position every single day and wonder if it's going to screw somebody over if I call in. And that's just not the right place to be. So I made the decision. I'm leaving. All the paperwork came through today. My background check came out okay. If anybody's wondering.
That's good. You're going to hear some changes, I think, in the next couple of weeks as far as Papa Kelly and the Bro Kept block. Mm-hmm. And when you asked me, a lot of questions of, do you think this is the right thing? And it all comes down to you. Like, you're going to know better than anyone where you're going to be happier. Mm-hmm. And I'm not concerned with what's going to be your monetary income, because that's one of the positives of not having our bank accounts tied in together, where it's like, where you're at, what your account should be or what it needs to be for, the portions and the bills that need to get paid. So it's all on you, really, and your state of happiness. And obviously this is a change that you felt needed to happen. Mm-hmm. And, it's good that you have the opportunity and they ended up going with you.
Oh, yeah. They went with me so fast. I'm just going to brag for a minute, right? So I applied. I'm sorry. Because this is great. So you prefaced by saying they don't hire from outside the company. I have 10 years of this other company and no experience with this one. So I applied at 10 p.m. one night on a whim, saw the fucking sign in a drive-through window, applied. Okay, they call me 10 hours later saying we want an interview. So the only time they could set it up for was the next week because of the day of the week it fell on. So I do this interview, and at the end of it, they said, okay, we're going to get you set up for the next one. Email me within an hour to set up the next interview, which of course is the next week after, right? Do that interview. By the end of the interview, they're already talking, you will do this and you will do that, which is always a good sign. If you're in an interview and they're talking like you already have it, you got it. And so then I said, okay, that's great. They call me an hour later after that one to set up an interview with the big boss, because again, I'm coming from outside. They need to make sure that I'm the right fit as much as I'm interviewing them and making sure they're the right fit. And so I talked with that guy for like 30 minutes. And then less than an hour after that, they're like, here's your offer. So it moved much more quickly than I think I or anybody expected, which is a good sign. Again, it means that they see the potential in me to do a great job at this and to grow within this company and move forward. And they were just going to scoop me up real fast.
That's great to hear. Mm-hmm. And obviously they've gained a huge asset with you. I will say that for sure. But that about concludes it for the Bro Kept block. The last thing I want to say is that with the new microphone, I am still doing many adjustments to it and getting used to it. So whether or not we stick with it is still to be determined, but I'm going to keep playing with it, and hopefully it's gotten better and better each week, as you've heard at the podcast, and we'll get there. We'll get to the best possible audio for this particular setup, and if it's not good enough, then we'll go back to the previous one. But hopefully most of you have not noticed the change, but if you have, know that it's getting better. So aside from that, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for letting your friends know about the podcast. April so far has been we reflected earlier about last-ditch efforts, but in this case, it's like someone's making the effort to have April 2019 be the greatest month of downloads for the podcast. Hasn't reached that yet, but it is making a strong case for it. So thank you so much if you are listening to the podcast for the very first time or the second or third time. And thank you for sticking with us and for giving us your first, second, or 344th chance. Thank you so much, longtime listeners, for tuning in and for staying with us for the long haul. I am Fisherman Daniel.
And I am Emperor Palpa Kelli.
And Brokehead Core. All will be well.